Tom Garman from Guitar Antihero, and today we want to talk about doing things a little bit differently. Specifically, what I would do differently were I starting all over as a guitarist again from scratch. In other words, what would I focus on, what would I practice, and what would I aim to do if I had to start all over again with playing guitar, and how is it different from what I've done? Okay? Now, this answer isn't exactly as cut and dried as it might seem on the face of it. I mean, it seems like it'd be a pretty simple thing to answer. But that's not really the case, at least for me, because circumstances and variables are always changing, and you never really know what you're going to run into and when interests and such might change. But for me, I would focus on three things in particular, okay? And these three, they're different, but they're all somewhat interrelated. Okay, specifically, number one, I would look more for connections among different techniques, concepts, physical instrument details, etc. In other words, I would look for similarities instead of differences. Now, this runs a bit counter to the way a lot of people teach, to what a lot of method books and videos and such say. Many programs, many systems will teach that we should look for the differences among things, because then we're better able to differentiate between them and I guess maybe remember different things better. I understand the rationale behind that, but I think it's generally a really bad idea. And here's why. If we want to play at a competent level, where our playing is fluid, our understanding is deep, and we know what's going on, we're able to move from one thing to another, we don't want to have a big disconnect from one thing to the next. We want to see similarities. We want to see how things are connected, how they relate to one another, whether it's two different chord shapes that at first glance look completely different. We want to find the similarities, okay? Whether it's picking versus strumming, we want to look for similarities there in technique and how that can be replicated. Right and left hand coordination, whether it's a physical concept or a theoretical concept, whatever it is, the more we can draw some parallels and the more of those dots we can connect, the better we're going to be able to be to pull off what we want to pull off, and we're going to be able to do it more quickly. All right? It's going to make things more usable, and it also makes things easier to understand because now we have a frame of reference to from which to pull when we do come upon something new. Okay? Again, it's kind of the associative power of thought. We can understand something a little bit better because we have something to associate it with. All right? So that's number one. Number two, I would focus on the application of a concept or a technique as soon as possible after getting it. Okay? Now, what I mean by that is I wouldn't just learn something and then kind of sit on it for a while, or go out and learn something just for the sake of knowing it, like most players do, where you think, well, I need to know this. Theory is a good example of this. We're often told we need to learn all the music theory that we can because, I don't know, reasons. Well, I'm a big proponent of theory. I'm a bigger proponent of actually making that theory applicable to a real playing situation. Otherwise, we're just loading up on a bunch of other junk that we have to remember that we think we're supposed to learn, and it just, collects dust on our mental hard drive, or however you want to think of that, okay? We don't want to just know something. We want to be able to use it. There's a difference between knowledge and understanding, okay? We can know something, but that doesn't mean that we really understand it. If we understand it, we can use it. For example, we can know that in the key of A major, for example, a 1-4-5 chord progression is A, D, and E, okay? We can know that. We can know it intellectually. We can see it on paper and say, yeah, I get that. But understanding it actually allows us to use it in a musical context and in a meaningful way, okay? There's a big difference there. At first, they seem very similar, and they are similar, but they're not the same, okay? So I'd seek a greater understanding rather than knowledge, and that understanding would most often come through a practical application of whatever I just learned. As soon as you learn a theoretical concept or a new playing technique, find a way to apply it to your present playing situation as soon as you can. Okay? You can play around with it, pull it apart, see what it does, see what it won't do, twist it, turn it around. Then you can decide if it's something that's really going to help you now, or if it's something that maybe you want to put on the back burner for later. Even if you're putting it on the back burner for later, though, there's still probably going to be an application that you can start using right away. Okay? You want to see where else it can be used, what else we can use it for, and then, once we do that, we can build out from there. Okay? On to other things. Which leads us to number three. The third thing I would focus on, and I cannot stress this enough, I think this is the cause of a lot of problems for a lot of people. Or actually, it's the remedy to a big problem that a lot of players have. And that is, I would focus on going deeper instead of wider. Okay? This is a concept that I sometimes call squeezing more juice out of the lemon. Okay? Meaning, you know, we're going to get more mileage out of what we already know. We're going to squeeze more juice out of what we've already got. We really want to own a particular technique or idea. All right? Now, what I mean by deeper versus wider is this. Say that, well, we'll use an example here, scales. Okay? A lot of times I will run into this situation where students will come in or somebody will send me an email or, you know, a direct message on Twitter or whatever. And the question or the problem will go something like this. Hey, Tom, I know such and such scale. I feel like I've hit a brick wall here. I need to learn new stuff. What would you recommend learning next? The problem is that really, you know, we feel like we need to keep learning more stuff, right? Now, that might seem a bit counterintuitive, but let me explain. We do want to learn more things, okay? But if we're not making the best use we're able out of what we already know, we're not going to make the best use we're able out of anything new that we learn, okay? So say, for example, that you know one scale. We'll say it's the first box position pentatonic minor, probably your favorite scale and mine, right? But you've hit a wall with that, and you're not sure where else to go, and you think, I need to learn some more scales. The first thing I would do is look at how you're actually using that pentatonic scale. See if you can go deeper with that particular scale, rather than going wider and trying to learn more stuff. So if you just know a pentatonic scale, but all you're really doing with it is just playing it, you know, back and forth in a stepwise fashion from lowest to highest and back, you're really not using it. So say that's what you're doing and you go out and you learn like 5 other scales or different patterns. What would make you think that you're going to do anything different with those new scales than go, you know, back and forth, up and down from top to bottom in a stepwise fashion? After all, that's all you did with a pentatonic scale. That's probably what you're going to do with the new ones. Then we're back in the same situation again, where we're hitting the same wall saying, man, I need to learn some new shit because I keep hitting this wall. We go learn other stuff and we apply those things in the same way, and we keep hitting these same ruts over and over and over again. If we go deeper, rather than going wider, what that means is we take the 1 or 2 things, whatever it is we happen to be working with, and we see how many different ways we can use those, how many ways we can twist them around. What else can we do with these things so that they become more than just that one concept or that one technique? Okay? Again, if we're talking pentatonic scales, break out of the blues box. Okay? Work with, I don't know, string skipping, different intervallic patterns, you know, tremolo picking, hammer-ons, pull-offs, different articulation techniques, whatever. Make sure you're taking it in different keys, different octaves, all of that stuff, just in an effort to try to keep it fresh, to keep moving forward, doing something different. Okay? When we do that, we'll train ourselves to think that way too. That way, whenever we do learn new things, when we choose to go wider, we'll probably apply whatever new material we've learned or we'll apply the same process, rather, to whatever new material we've learned, put it through the same system, and we're going to get a hell of a lot more mileage out of that, too. That's one of these things that really separates a so-called advanced player who really feels and sounds comfortable with what they're doing and fresh and innovative from somebody who maybe knows the same stuff and has the same level of technique, but they really don't sound, you know, different than anybody else who just kind of picked up a guitar and they start hacking away at stuff. Okay? So we take that idea. Then, as the old shampoo commercial used to say, we'll wash, rinse, repeat. Just kind of keep going with that same process for everything new we learn. Okay. Now, again, this is what I would do. This is what I would focus on where I'm starting out today. But it's not too late to do this now, right? I still do it in my own playing, and you can do it too. Look for any areas of your own playing where you can apply these 3 things and really, you know, really go for this. I mean, really think about this and be honest with yourself about your playing, okay? Take notes. Get out a notebook. Do whatever you need to do to stay on top of this and then keep moving forward with it. All right? When we go through these 3 things, you're probably going to have to keep cycling through them again and again and again with more things that we do. So, I mean, the process never really ends, right? But that's why we keep playing after all. Okay? All right. Thanks for watching. Make sure to stop by the website, guitarantihero.com, hit the link below the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.